It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's the Monday edition of your favorite sports show, ZiFM Sport, Manic Monday. So don't miss out on our power play that kicks off the show and our play of the day that comes a bit later. DJ Baz digging deep into his mix to give you something that should lighten the load on a day that we call Manic Monday, day when we're all trying to get back up to speed with things at the office and so forth and so on. But on your favorite sports show, we try and, of course, look back at the weekend that was in the world of sport, local and international, and there was plenty of action, so it gives us plenty to talk about. And those that will be talking about it, Barry Manandi, Chris Midzi, Alois Munjira, myself, Mike Madoda, and our producer is Sean Tafirinyika. On the home front, Pakistan proving too strong for a sloppy Zimbabwe as they won the second T20 international to take a 2-0 lead in the 3-match T20 international series. In international sports news, Daniil Medvedev won his maiden Paris Masters title after beating Alexander Zverev 5-7, 6-4, 6-1 for his 8th career title and 3rd at a Masters event.
And around the world in 60, we begin in the United Arab Emirates, where the Delhi Capitals are into their first IPL final after beating the Sunrisers Hyderabad in a closely fought qualifier 2 in Abu Dhabi. In Australia, the Wallabies held on for a nerve-jangling 24-22 win over the All Blacks in Brisbane in a spiteful Tri-Nations clash that featured 2 red cards. And in the United States, Carlos Ortiz won his first PGA Tour title at the Houston Open after holding off strong challenges from Dustin Johnson and Hideki Matsuyama.
After we take our play of the day, we dive into the Castle Lager World Football Report. We kick off in the Premier League, where Jurgen Klopp says it was a tough decision to play Diogo Jota and Roberto Firmino from the start against Manchester City, but believes the element of surprise worked in his side's favour following the 1-1 draw. In the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich moved 2 points clear at the top of the table after overcoming rivals Borussia Dortmund 3-2 in the Bundesliga's first Klassiker of the season on Saturday. In La Liga, Real Madrid coach Zinedine Zidane said his side could not hide behind the referee's decisions or their injury and illness woes after they stumbled to a 4-1 defeat at Valencia last night. And in Serie A, AC Milan forward Zlatan Ibrahimovic missed a penalty for the 3rd time this season before scoring a stoppage time equaliser as the log leaders hit back to draw 2-2 at home to Verona. All of that and so much more to look forward to in this edition of ZiFM Sport. It is Manic Monday, and today we start with Ja Praiser. This one's called Munyaradzi. Tragically, the star of this video, Moana, passing away in that horrific car accident that also took the life of businessman and socialite genius Jinimbi Kadungure. We commiserate with the families and all those who've lost their loved ones as a result of that and other tragedy.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Don't forget, we'd love to keep it interactive right here on your favorite sports show, ZiFM Sports. Send us your thoughts or your views, your takes on the action that happened over the weekend at home as well as internationally. Follow and interact with @ZiFM Sport on Twitter. And if you know someone who isn't able to catch the show on the regular time, 6 through to 7 o'clock, they can listen in at their own leisure on YouTube. Again, search for @ZiFM Sport. Let's start on the home front, as is our tradition, and cricket is front and center. Pakistan. The Sultans of Swing. They're proving too strong for Zimbabwe in the T20 International Series after Zimbabwe won the third one-day international this past week. We all thought that Zimbabwe would give Pakistan something to think about in the 20-over format of the international game, but Pakistan are proving that there's something of a gap between themselves and the Chevrons. Let's give you the scorecard of the second T20 international that was played yesterday. Pakistan winning the toss and electing to take to the field, meaning that Zimbabwe batted first and they ratcheted up 134 for 7. That scorecard given a bit of respectability by Ryan Burl, who struck 32 not out at the end of Zimbabwe's innings. Kadir 3 for 23 and Ralph 3 for 31, the pick of the bowlers for Pakistan. And then in the chase, Pakistan making light work of that score, 137 for 2. Haider Ali 66 not out, and the world's leading T20 international batsman, arguably the best batsman in the world at the moment, Babar Azam, making 51. Pakistan winning by 8 wickets. Now Chevrons captain Chamuchi Baba, who once again failed with the bat, says that once again it was a case of his side struggling with the bat.
Yeah, again, I thought we didn't put enough runs on the board. We kept losing wickets throughout our batting innings, so it kind of put us on a back foot. Yeah, look, we've looked at both options, but we back ourselves to put runs on the board, and that's what we're looking to do. And I thought it was a good batting wicket. We let ourselves down again today.
Well, we're going to talk about Chamuchi Baba and his personal performances a bit later, but let's just start with the result there, Barry. And you've got to say that Pakistan proving too strong for the Chevrons. There's something of a gap, and what worries me is that the shorter the game, the closer the contest should be between sides that are sort of like separated with a gulf in class. Zimbabwe should be making more of a fist of it.
They should be. In fact, the reverse is becoming obviously true when it comes to this contest between Pakistan and our Chevrons, because in truth, we saw a lot more competition. We saw a lot more a fight. We saw better performances when it came to the 50-over game, which is the one-day internationals. Now, we shorten the game and the performances are certainly going in the wrong direction, which is disappointing. I'm glad you pointed out that Chamuchi Baba himself has a case to answer, but right through the order, you look at it, our scoring rate was too slow. Our shot selection could be better. So there's a lot of issues that need to be corrected with this side, with the bat, not to mention even with the ball.
Well, you talked about our performances going backwards, Barry. I want to go to the first T20 international. Zimbabwe made 156 for 6 on the back of Wesley Madevere, who made 70. Fantastic innings from the nipper in that one. And then Pakistan making 157 for 4. So 156 for 6 is not a score that you sniff at. I mean, it's a decent score, Chris. But Zimbabwe in the second one-day T20 international making just 134. Madevere, who carried the team in the other game, not able to come to the party. And are we still at that stage where we are still dependent on mercurial performances from one or two of the stars to give us a semblance of respectability?
So it's quite evident, Mike, that we're having a situation where individual players are putting up brilliant performances, and that's what's carrying the team through. I think we saw it previously against Pakistan as well, that it's not necessarily even your openers who are setting up this platform. It's individual players in the batting order towards the middle, in fact, who are then able to put up these incredible performances, and the team can ride off of that. But in terms of an entire team effort, there's questions to be asked around that, and there's questions to be asked in terms of the leadership and how the team is playing in terms of strategy as well. And we're not necessarily going to see great results from Zimbabwe in this T20 if we don't get some of those issues sorted out. But we're not doing too great in terms of the ball or the bat, especially when individual players don't show up to perform.
Barry, just running through some of the scores from our batsmen. Brendan Taylor making 3, Chamuchi Baba 15, Sean Williams 13, Medvedev with a decent 24, but 22 balls consumed, so nowhere near quick enough. Raza 7, and then of course Ryan Bell came in at the end making 32, Chigumbura 18, but it took him all of 19 balls, so it was at 94.74. We expect a lot better from him as an experienced middle order batsman. Well, first of all, Barry, was it a mistake to put Brendan Taylor at the top of the order? I can understand the logic was probably to try and see him bat for a long time in this innings, but wouldn't it have been better off to keep him in the middle order where he has performed well for Zimbabwe?
Yeah, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's an old adage, but it's an adage that works. And I think that putting Brendan Taylor at the top of the order was a mistake insofar as I think we put a bit more pressure on him. Now, he's a player who can handle pressure for sure, but that pressure then negatively impacted the overall team objectives. So I think that in keeping him in the middle order would have achieved a lot more out of him. So I don't think it was a wise decision at all, but I think I know what informed the decision. What informed it might have been that we need to get the leadership up front. Let's get runs on the board by one of the senior players, and they can show the way. It didn't work out.
Why not send in Wesley Medvedev, for example, Barry, because his technique is better suited to the pace bowlers. We have seen how Wesley Medvedev handles the pace bowlers. You know, he's been absolutely fantastic off the front foot, off the back foot. He's able to face whatever is coming at him. Surely send a player who's technically sound and see if he can do a job.
Now, you can see it that I think a lot of historical data was used to make the decision on Brendan Taylor as opposed to actually looking at form. Because as you quite rightly point out, Wesley Medvedev, if you compare him and compare his performances just on this tour, he deals with the pace bowlers very well. He's a good, whether you look at his defensive game, when you look at his ability to counter-attack, he's a fantastic batsman. So I think even sending him up at the top of the order wouldn't have been out of sorts. We would have definitely got a lot more than the 3 that we got from BT.
And now, Chris, Elton Chigumbura, I did talk about him. I mentioned him earlier on. He's calling time on his international career at the conclusion of this tour. And so that'll be the last we see of Elton Chigumbura. He's been a loyal servant of the Chevrons, played well at certain junctions in his career. But do you think that his choice or his inclusion in this particular match that was played, and perhaps in the match that will be played tomorrow, is more sentimental to allow him to say goodbye as opposed to him giving us actual value or making a meaningful enough contribution for us to perhaps challenge Pakistan and try and win the games?
So there's definitely a lot of sentiment around this. If you take a look at his performances, he's not necessarily contributing the way we would expect. He's not putting up the runs nearly as quickly as he should be. So this is definitely about a swan song, and like he said, about paving way and, you know, having more young blood in the national side. So I think it's a lot of sentiment, and we would have expected a different performance from him, but that's not necessarily what's happening.
A bit of a swan song for Elton Chigumbura as he calls time on his Chevrons career. Don't forget the 3rd T20 international between Zimbabwe and Pakistan will be played in Rawalpindi tomorrow.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Let's give you a local sports news roundup starting with rugby. England-based Zimbabwe rugby international Farah Mudariki has expressed his frustration at his failure to make a mark at Worcester Warriors, as he seeks a quick return to the top tier of the English rugby after parting ways with the Gallagher Premiership side last week. Speaking publicly for the first time following the confirmation that he would be leaving Worcester, Mudariki said he was grateful for the support he received during his time at the club, and his only regret was his failure to, quote, make a mark and give back to the club on the field. On to triathlon news now. The association continued their selection process for the national junior and youth teams, and it was another exciting weekend with triathletes getting the opportunity to accumulate points at an event held at Mount Pleasant Pool in Harare yesterday. Selection events are held over the duration of the season, culminating
in the final selection race, which is the national championships at Troutbeck in February next year. Most of the leading juniors and youths graced yesterday's event. We'll wrap it up with an update out of the Warriors camp. Now, Warriors striker David Moyer believes the quality in the team can help them pick at least 4 points in the upcoming back-to-back 2021 Africa Cup of Nations football qualifiers against Algeria. Zimbabwe face the continental champions in Algiers on Thursday before they host the same opponents at the National Sports Stadium 4 days later in Group H. The Warriors began their preparations today at the Eagles' Nest at Ellis Robbins, the home of Golden Eagles Football Club.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Don't forget, in the second half of the show, we'll be tying up the leagues in Europe in a nice little bow for you, telling you what they look like ahead of the start of this international break. But first, international sports news, we're talking tennis, where Daniil Medvedev won his maiden Paris Masters title after beating Alexander Zverev 5-7, 6-4, 6-1 before his 8th career title and 3rd at a Masters event. Germany's Zverev, a winner of back-to-back titles at indoor hardcore events in Cologne last month, edged the first set before Medvedev fought back to triumph in 2 hours and 7 minutes. Let's hear from the Paris Masters champion, Daniil Medvedev.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the final, with the win here. Especially my level of game was really top level this week. I think it's not easy for guys to play against me when I play like this. Today was a really tight match, and I need to say after the first set I didn't know actually what to do because I had 0 break points. I didn't feel good returning his serve. He serves amazing. Lost my serve, got a little bit tight, so I was feeling like the match can slip off my hands. But I managed to stay really strong, be there all the time. Got 4 break points at 1-0 in second. Putting pressure at him all the time, raising my level step by step, and finally he broke, which is definitely good from me. And yeah, it's of course tough to compare with the Shanghai final where I was on top of him all of the match. Here was a really tight match where both could be the winners, so I'm really happy to win it.
Z.
Now, Chris, a final of young guns, and in truth, we always expected that there would be energy, but we didn't expect that the energy would be coming from one direction.
We didn't expect that energy to be coming from one side of the court, but I think what we know of Daniil Medvedev is that ability for him to claw through matches, high intensity from start to finish, and that's exactly how he won his first Paris Masters.
Indeed, and in truth, going into this, Zverev had the wool over Medvedev. He had won 5 of their previous 6 meetings, so the form card wasn't in his favor, and he also pulled off a bit of a fillip in this one, and full credit to him, eh, Mike?
Listen, Barry, I think we can try and give credit to Medvedev and talk about him being a scrapper, etc., but he was a big beneficiary of the grueling schedule that disadvantaged Zverev heading into this game. Remember, it was a tight turnaround between matches, and then his was made even tighter by the fact that he played Rafael Nadal in the semis, and he didn't get as much time to rest as Medvedev was allowed. So he was knackered when he got into this game. He just didn't have it in the tank to go toe-to-toe with Medvedev. So I don't think he was outplayed in terms of skill. This was just a function of Medvedev winning against a player who was tired on the day.
In a season, I think Mike is absolutely correct that Zverev was disadvantaged by that. But I think if we look at it all around, we're almost walking ourselves. It's a very slow walk, admittedly, but we're walking ourselves into in the next sort of 4 to 5 years, a new generation that will be headlined by stars like Medvedev and Zverev, won't we, Chris?
We'll definitely be seeing, I think we're already seeing some of these stars come to the fore. They're winning more and more tournaments. And in as much as we're going to have our talks about the GOAT, we're still going to have Roger Federer. I think we're starting to see more and more that generation that's popping up. And Medvedev is definitely front and center as part of that.
Well, how would you describe his game, Michael Medvedev?
A scrapper. I wouldn't pay much for it. He's not a guy that I expect to go out and win 5 Grand Slams. He's not at that level. I expect Zverev also to win 1 or 2 here and there. But I think some of these guys are winning mainly as a result of the big stars playing less and less games as they manage their schedule towards the tail end of their careers. So Roger Federer hasn't had a lick of tennis now in the last 8 months, if not the last 12 months. Rafael Nadal is also beginning to pick and choose tournaments that he wants to play in, trying to keep himself as fresh as is possible for the big ones as well, because in the race to be GOAT, I think all 3 of them understand that ultimately, when we put sentiment aside, it will come down to who has won the most Grand Slams. That's what it will come down to. It won't be about ATP Masters titles. It won't be about what you have done, how many weeks you've spent as world number 1. It'll come down to a simple finger count of how many Grand Slam titles do you have. So these guys are trying to keep themselves fresh now for the big one. So give yourself a chance in Melbourne at the Australian Open. Give yourself a chance at Roland Garros. Give yourself a chance at Wimbledon, and give yourself a chance at Flushing Meadows. That's what they're playing for right now. So it's all about managing the workload. And managing the workload means that they're not playing as many tournaments as they were 5, 6, 7 years ago, because that's when they were winning almost every Masters tournament that was on offer. Now they're not doing that. So now that's what's allowing us now to see a Medvedev winning a tournament, and Alexander Zverev winning a tournament, and winning those tournaments regularly.
Yeah, and so that with that load management coming into kicking in, and the greats, as it were, I'm going to say greats, and I know our producer Sean is rolling his eyes, but the greats, the 3 of them, with them managing their load, the youngsters are obviously licking their chops and are looking at the tour and saying to themselves, look, we can actually pick one or 2 off here before these 3 move on into retirement, and then we've got a good shout at the Grand Slams as well. And who knows, if you arrive at a Grand Slam in good nick, you might actually have a good shot, even though you are a young gun, eh, Chris?
Definitely. What they're doing at the moment is almost biding their time and making sure that in these tournaments that they are building some sort of reputation, that they are making names for themselves, so that when these the greats, as you've called them, when the greats do decide, you know what, it's time for us to, at individual stages, obviously they're going to be tapping out, then the younger players will be asserting themselves a lot more. But for the moment, I think we still know who our top guns are, and these younger players are just biding their time.
Indeed. And that's what's happening in the world of tennis. Next up, we go around the world in 60.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We begin in the United Arab Emirates, where the Delhi Capitals are into their first IPL final after beating Sunrisers Hyderabad in a closely fought qualifier 2 in Abu Dhabi. Shikhar Dhawan's superb 78 from 50 balls helped the Capitals up to 189 for 3, and after Kagiso Rabada had bowled David Warner with his first ball, Rabada then all but sealed the win in the penultimate over, taking 3 wickets in 4 balls as the Capitals completed a 17-run win and set up a final against Mumbai Indians in Dubai tomorrow. We head over to Australia, where the Wallabies held on for a nerve-jangling 24-22 win over the All Blacks in Brisbane in a spiteful Tri-Nations clash that featured 2 red cards. The All Blacks were reduced to 14 men when trailing 8-5 in the 23rd minute after prop Ofatunga Fasi was dismissed for a high tackle on debutant winger Liam Wright. But the Wallabies were unable to exploit the advantage as fiery flanker Lachlan Swinton became the first Australian player to be red carded on his test debut for planting a shoulder into the jaw of Sam Whitelock 12 minutes later. We touched down in the United States where Carlos Ortiz won his first PGA Tour title at the Houston Open after holding off strong challenges from Dustin Johnson and Hideki Matsuyama. A birdie at 16 proved crucial for Ortiz as he moved one clear of world number one Johnson and Matsuyama, who surged into contention with a course record 63. Johnson and Matsuyama missed putts to join Ortiz on 12 under par, and the Mexican sealed victory with a birdie at the last to win by 2 shots and earn him a place at the 2021 Masters.
The Casalaga Premier Soccer League, La Liga, Serie A, the English Premier League, the Bundesliga. It all comes together with the Castle on the Casalaga World Football Report. All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudent. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
Always no better place to start than in England, and here are your weekend results out of the Premier League. Brighton and Burnley, goalless draw, and then Southampton briefly climbing to the top of the Premier League with a 2-0 win over Newcastle. Crystal Palace thumped Leeds United 4-1, whilst Chelsea repeated the same scoreline versus Sheffield United. West Ham United winning versus Fulham 1-0 in a London derby, and then West Bromwich Albion going down late to Tottenham Hotspur 1-0, a result that took Spurs to the top of the league. Chris, Tottenham Hotspur not convincing when you watch their performances, because there were times when West Brom actually looked like they were the team that were going to win, and we said the same thing when they played versus Brighton, but they are finding a way to win matches, and that's mainly because they got Harry Kane in their ranks, and he's always good for a goal.
Always good for a goal, Mr. Dependable, with Son as well. If you have players like that in a team who are able to just manage to sneak and get a goal, then they're definitely going to keep on this trajectory. Just manage to sneak in week by week getting the goals.
Alois, have you been disappointed with the start that Gareth Bale has had to his Tottenham Hotspur career? Because yes, he had scored that one goal that he scored, but he hasn't exactly lit it up to the level that we expected him to.
Yeah, he hasn't, Mike. Honestly speaking, you know, when you look at Gareth Bale and his profile, you would have thought from Real Madrid, he was just going to come and light up the space, you know, when he came to Tottenham Hotspur. But unfortunately, he hasn't done that. He looks like he's just an average player that was just plugged from another average team. He's just making the numbers at Tottenham Hotspur. He's not looking the part where we can actually see him as the giant player that is actually above a lot of the players. But let's give him time. Maybe he's still trying to gel. But a lot of stars, we've seen them coming back and play for their former teams. They come in and illuminate the field. But Gareth Bale, he hasn't yet.
Well, Bruno Fernandes scored twice as Manchester United came from behind to win 3-1 at Everton and ease the pressure on under-fire manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Barry Menandi, good win this one for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because it keeps Ole at the wheel for at least a few more weeks. It takes the pressure off him, and also a big positive for him would have been the performance of Bruno Fernandes, who had looked quite subdued over the last few weeks, but he put in a match-winning performance.
Yeah, he had, and I think that his hunger for the game, his hunger to perform, was re-established by, of course, being subbed off in that game against Arsenal, which I think showed him that the manager was a little concerned with the performances that he was putting in. And being the strong character that he is, having the leadership credentials that he does have, that we've talked about on this show, I think he's now shown that he's able to do the right sort of self-talk and get himself back into the game, because his performance was remarkable and was what led to this victory for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and indeed Manchester United. And again, Ole at the wheel, he stays there. I'm not sure if it's the best thing for Manchester United because they seem to be going on a topsy-turvy roller coaster ride of ups and downs under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Hopefully it'll settle somewhere, whether settle at something bad or settle at something good. The bottom line is they need to find consistency.
Find consistency, and of course the international break is coming up, so we don't know whether that's going to work for United or work against United, especially after securing this fantastic win over Everton Football Club. Now the weekend began with Southampton climbing to the top of the league standings, and then they were pushed off by Tottenham Hotspur, who in turn were elbowed off top spot by Leicester City, who beat Wolves 1-0 courtesy of a Jamie Vardy penalty. It all led to Super Sunday. 2 matches played, starting with the big one at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City failing to close the gap on Liverpool following a lively 1-1 draw. Let's get the post-match thoughts of both managers after the game, Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola.
Super football game, to be honest, from all points of view, actually. 2 top teams ready for a massive fight. The energy level of both teams tonight was incredible. In that moment in time, it's really, you could see after 10 minutes, after 15 minutes, everybody was breathing like, was really, really tough for all the 22 on the pitch, and but then pulling out such a performance, I'm really happy. It's a game with the lowest number of chances City ever had against us when we played them. Even when we won the games, they had more. We always had to. We needed luck in situations tonight, not that much, yes, with the penalty they got, but apart from that, the game I liked a lot.
Yeah, tight game. They started well. We conceded a goal, a penalty like Leicester, and after we take the game, yeah, it was tight. In the second half, we had a more clear chance, but yeah, the draw, fair result.
Alois, one of the things that we discussed, I think it was with Chris on the Friday show, was who needed to win this game more, City or Liverpool. And Pep Guardiola coming out at the end of the game saying that he was happy with the 1 point. I'm sure the same can be said for Jurgen Klopp. So both teams satisfied with the performance and the result.
I don't know, Mike. I think Pep Guardiola is just saying it because it's the result that is there. You can't say anything. But I thought that Manchester City needed this result more. You know, Liverpool, they were away and they could afford to get a draw. Away from home, they can actually tick it as a positive, because all they did was they held Manchester City, their title rivals, the team that is behind them, trailing behind them, so they kept them at bay. So for me, I think it was a good result for Liverpool. Unlike Man City, who were trying to close the gap. So he would just say, yes, they got the point, they wanted the point, they're satisfied, but deep down, I think that they know that they needed this win more than Liverpool.
They had a chance to win it, Chris. Penalty to Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, it was a harsh call, I thought, on Joe Gomez. But City got the penalty. KDB missing from the spot.
Missing from the spot, and he's going to be... I think he would have been incredibly disappointed with himself. I think the team would have been incredibly disappointed, because that was the opportunity Manchester City had to ensure that they managed to get this win. And Kevin De Bruyne not being able to put it in the back of the net, quite disappointing.
Barry, was that a function of Alisson? Because, you know, when you've got a big, imposing goalkeeper who's standing there and you're taking a penalty, sometimes the temptation may be to overcompensate, because you're thinking to yourself, you know what, he's such a big guy. If he dives, he may get it. So I need to make sure that I place it very accurately.
Yeah, the size of Alisson, but I'm also going to add there the reputation of Alisson as well, because you're facing one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and footballers are humans. Alois can hopefully confirm this. So when he's thinking about it, he's thinking, right, I'm going to put it right inside the post. Even if he goes the right way, he's not going to get there. And like you quite rightly point out, sometimes you'll then overcompensate, and this one just went the other side of the post as opposed to inside the post. So look, we'll forgive it. It was unexpected, but I certainly believe that we can forgive it because of who he was facing, and that is in Alisson Becker.
Kevin De Bruyne, the player of the year, missing an opportunity that could have given Man City all the points at the Etihad. There was one more game to be played yesterday, and that game was between Arsenal and Villa. Arsenal were expected to build on their fantastic result versus United the previous weekend, but they were soundly beaten by Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins scoring a brace after his hat-trick versus Liverpool a few weeks ago. He seems like he does have a taste for the big teams. Where does this leave things in the league standings? In the Premier League, Leicester are leading the way, 18 points, followed by Tottenham Hotspur and Liverpool on 17 points. Southampton are in 4th on 16 points. Chelsea are in 5th. If you're looking for Man City, they're in 10th. They've got one game in hand. Arsenal are in 11th. Manchester United with a game in hand are in 14th. And right at the bottom is Sheffield United with just the 1 point from this campaign. Burnley, 2 points, and West Bromwich Albion struggling with just 3 points. If you play fantasy football, well, it was not a big scoring weekend, but Chauya Chipembere scored big, 64 points, meaning that David Sitole is leading the way on 578, followed by Obvious and Ndlovu. Sparrows Football Club is his team. He scored 73 to take him to 571. And then Larry FC, Hilary Giwa, that is the man in 3rd. 80 points he's secured to go to 563 and 3rd on the Z Fantasy League. Chris, your most outstanding player of the weekend?
My most outstanding player of the weekend is a player I don't necessarily like, but I think in this past weekend he put up an incredible performance for Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes scoring 2, assisting, and just throughout that match he was putting in a shift, and he's helped Ole Gunnar Solskjaer keep his job.
From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport. Horsepower unmatched. Torque to beat the best. Speed unrivaled. Sleek and easy on the eye. Let's get behind the wheel of football engineered to perfection. The Bundesliga, made in Germany.
Heading into Germany now for news out of the Bundesliga. Your weekend results: Werder Bremen and Cologne coming to a 1-1 draw. Union Berlin with a thumping 5-0 win against Arminia Bielefeld. Mainz and Schalke feared drawing 2-2. Bayern Munich continued their dominance over old rivals Borussia Dortmund on Saturday, coming from behind to win 3-2 away in the Bundesliga, with Robert Lewandowski scoring his 11th goal of the season. German coach Jürgen Klinsmann says Dortmund were not determined enough to beat Bayern.
On an overall point of view, they played a good game and they had their chances. They didn't use their chances, so they were not determined enough to score their goals and come off with a positive result. Lucien Favre is a different type of a manager than definitely Thomas Tuchel was before, or especially Jürgen Klopp was before. So that's why he often gets compared to these two guys, and sometimes the people say they would like to see a little bit more higher level of determination and aggressiveness and an emotional side of him on the bench. But he has his own style. He's a very, very knowledgeable and very good coach. At the end of the day, obviously, the results need to be there, and they're dreaming in Dortmund of since years now, winning another championship and getting some trophies. But he's doing a tremendous good job. But what's lacking right now is a little bit this piece of, I would call it, nastiness and determination in games like this, to say, we might not beat Bayern today, but at least we get off with a tie. We're not losing against Bayern today. And so as Steve said rightfully, you sit then in a locker room empty-handed. You played okay, but 0 points.
Alois, just taking a look at that match between Dortmund and Bayern Munich, is this a fair assessment to say that Dortmund were not determined enough to beat Bayern?
Now, I wouldn't say that they were not determined enough. Maybe it comes from the situation where you see body language, you don't see the intensity. You know, remember when I was talking about this game, I said the only way Dortmund are going to beat Bayern Munich is only when they go for intensity, because they've got the younger players, they've got these skillful young players. All they needed was to go in to intensify the game so that, you know, they can actually suppress Bayern Munich. But what they did is they took it off the hook. They relaxed as much as Bayern Munich were relaxing. So I said that if it's 50-50, if they go toe-to-toe, Dortmund were not going to beat Bayern Munich at all costs, and it showed. So I think these sentiments are coming from the situation that, you know what, Dortmund, they didn't show the zeal, they didn't apply more energy so that they could actually beat Bayern Munich. That's where they lost it.
The rest of the results: Augsburg going down against Hertha Berlin. That was 3-0 to Hertha Berlin. Stuttgart and Eintracht Frankfurt coming to a 2-2 draw. Wolfsburg 2-1 against Hoffenheim. Borussia Leverkusen 4-3 against Borussia Mönchengladbach. RB Leipzig, though, maintained their 100% home record this season as they outclassed Freiburg 3-0 on Saturday, capping their performance with a majestic free kick from Angelino. Julian Nagelsmann has had a fantastic start to the season, so much so that there's chit-chat about Manchester United giving him support. Barry, taking a look at the overall picture in the Bundesliga, who would you say is your star of the week?
Oh, he comes out of that 7-goal thriller that you spoke about, Bayer Leverkusen and Borussia Mönchengladbach. 7 goals is what we fans love to see. And on the winning side was Bayer Leverkusen's Lucas Alario. He's an Argentine striker who just can't stop scoring. And he scores 2 goals in this game. 2 very good goals. The first one was a fantastic curler in a game that had great goals. You look at the last one by Lazaro, you'll see that, it had some good goals. But nonetheless, Lucas Alario, I think for me, star of the week in the Bundesliga.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Castle Lager is more than just beer. It's pure liquid gold, crafted from the finest local ingredients to deliver a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, but never sweet. It's the taste that stood the test of time. It all comes together with a castle.
Let's dive into Spain, into La Liga, where your results looked like this. Elche, 1-1 draw with Celta Vigo. Huesca, 1-1 draw with Aiba. Sevilla, 1-0 victors over Osasuna. And then Villarreal, too strong for Getafe, 3-1. That one ended in favor of the Yellow Submarine, Villarreal. Real Sociedad, 2-0 over Granada. Levante, 1-1 draw with Alaves. And Real Valladolid, 2-1 were victors over the Athletic Club of Bilbao. Valencia was handed Real Madrid a decisive 4-1 defeat, thanks to large part to a hat-trick of penalties from Carlos Soler. You look at this result, Chris, you got to think to yourself that Zizou is in some strife, mainly because he's getting good results in patches. And this topsy-turvy sort of up and down that Real Madrid is going on can't be good for board and management.
It's definitely not good for board and management, and he's going to be under a little bit more pressure now, especially after this 4-1 defeat, because what you'd like to get is at least a good run of results across all of your tournaments, and that's not necessarily what's happening with Real Madrid at the moment. They're patchy, they're good in some games, smash and grab wins as well, so we can't see a pattern with Real Madrid, and that's got to be problematic. He should be under pressure.
I'm going to say that board and management all over the world need to relax, because playing in an empty stadium is proving a very, very difficult proposition. Atletico Madrid forward João Felix, he played a starring role with 2 goals and an assist as they crushed visitors Cadiz 4-0 on Saturday and continued their rampant run of domestic form. And then, of course, Barcelona. Now, substitute Lionel Messi. It's very difficult for us to say that Lionel Messi was a substitute for Barcelona, but in fact, he was a substitute and made the difference with 2 goals for Barcelona in the second half as they beat Real Betis 5-2. So it remains for us to ask Michael who the star of the week in La Liga was.
Well, Barry, it's a toss-up between the two players that you mentioned last, Joao Felix of Atletico Madrid and Lionel Messi, but I think I'm going to give it to Leo. He edges it on that. He came into what was looking like a difficult game for Barcelona versus Betis. It's 1-0. He comes in as a substitute at the beginning of the second half, and he made light work of Real Betis. That dummy he gave for that dummy assist. I mean, it all go down as his assist, but that dummy, just that awareness, Barry, for him to give that assist and then for him to score 2 goals as well. He was absolutely fantastic, Leo Messi, and he's the reason why Barca ran out comfortable 5-2 winners.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you and say he scored a goal from open play. Yay.
Your results out of Italy: Sassuolo and Udinese playing a goalless draw. Cagliari thumping Sampdoria 2-0. Spezia too good for Benevento. That one ended 3-0. Lazio substitute Felipe Caicedo scoring in a stoppage time for the second week running to earn his side a 1-0 draw at home to Juventus after Cristiano Ronaldo had given the champions a first half lead. AC Milan forward Zlatan Ibrahimovic missed a penalty for the third time this season before scoring a stoppage time equalizer as the Serie A leaders head back to draw 2-2 at home to Verona. Alois, you've got to say that the 4 top teams in Italy could not be separated this weekend, and so they won't be complaining, but AC Milan will feel that they probably missed out on an opportunity to extend their lead in a match that they were expected to win versus Verona.
Yeah, of course, we expected them to win. That was a chance for them to actually go top and actually consolidate their position as a title contender as well. But unfortunately, they couldn't. They missed out on a chance, a very good chance that is.
Parma and Fiorentina, La Viola, goalless draw. Atalanta and Inter Milan could not be separated. It ended 1-0. Thumping 3-1 win for Roma versus Genoa. Henrik Mkhitaryan scoring a hat-trick in that one. Crotone and Torino, goalless draw. Bologna beaten at home by Napoli 1-0. And Alois, let's hear your word on who was the standout player in Serie A.
It has to be Henrik Mkhitaryan. Mike, he was on fire, scoring a hat-trick, and he could have even scored 6 if the Genoa goalkeeper was not brilliant. He got into very good positions. The goals that we're talking about, they were not just tap-ins, they were brilliant goals as well. So I'll give it to him. He is the Serie A player of the week for me.
We're out of time, but let's wrap it up on the continent with a quick update of the MTN Wafa. The second leg of the semi-finals was this past weekend, and the results looked like this. Orlando Pirates 2-0 victors over Kaizer Chiefs, meaning they win the tie 5-0 on aggregate. And then Bloemfontein Celtic scoring 1, and that's all they needed against SuperSport, winning 1-0, meaning that Bloemfontein progressed courtesy of a 2-1 aggregate victory, meaning that in December it'll be Bloemfontein Celtic that will take Orlando Pirates in the MTN 8 final. Wafa. We are out of time. We gotta go. We'll be back tomorrow for our show 6:05. Don't miss it right here on ZiFM Stereo. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.